Good evening, everyone. I wanted to do my discussion tonight on the Battle of Cowpens. For many reasons. One, I'm a proud South Carolinian, and I'm proud of our state's history. But two, this was a very major battle within the Southern colonies during the Revolutionary War. Real quick, Cowpens, the Battle of Cowpens occurred January 17th to 1781. The Patriot forces were led by Daniel Morgan, and the British forces were led by Lieutenant Colonel Tarleton. Um, and you can see from the picture I have here, there's actually a national park within this town that is preserving the battlefield for history tours and for future students to learn about. Just a couple of pictures here to kind of give you guys a good layout. Upper left corner, that is what the current town looks like. It's a very small town. One of the towns where if you're not from there, they know you're not from there because everybody knows everybody. Um, and back in those days, I don't think you could really consider it a town because, it was the reason the town's called cow pens because there were literally cow pens in the area. There were cow pastures. It was a big beef area and it was also used for milking cows and other things. Um, to the right, that's just a map of the state, kind of giving you a general layout. The Greenville, Columbia, and Charleston are actually the biggest cities within the state today. And Cowpens, as you can see, is pretty close to modern day Greenville. At that time, Greenville was not a town. That was actually Cherokee territory during the Revolutionary War. And the orange lines in the picture, that's just current interstates that go through the state. The bottom left, this shows you the movements of both armies within the Southern campaign. The red, of course, is the British forces. The blue is the Continental forces. And essentially, what was happening was Lord Cornwallis occupied Charleston, and his plan in the British Southern strategy was to move north into Virginia and Pennsylvania and eventually surround George Washington and his army and force the Continentals to surrender. In this case, as he moved forward, the the Continental Southern Army moved south, and they would clash in such places as the Battle of Camden, the Battle of Waxhaw, and several other places, as you can see there. And although the British forces are actually doing quite well and pretty much controlling their fate when it comes to the battles against the Continental Army, a few things really uh, stuck to them. One, the militias within the state, specifically South and North Carolina, they would very much harass the British forces. And in South Carolina specifically, they had a man named Francis Marion, who was a militia general, and he was a expert in guerrilla tactics. He actually learned that from the Cherokee Indian, and he was harassing and um, stealing from the British forces. He would steal supplies and keep them from being able to continue north. Um, and then you had the Battle of Cowpens, where Daniel Morgan and his troops defeated the British, and it actually turned the tide of the Southern campaign against the British, which forced Cornwallis to move back to Charleston, and then he eventually moved his troops into Yorktown, where the war he later would surrender and end the war. But this is just give you guys a good layout of what I'm talking about here. Here's just a few facts. It was a very lopsided victory for the Continental Army. Daniel Morgan's troops only suffered 12 killed in action and 60 wounded, while the British had 110 killed in action, over 200 wounded, and surrendered 50 prisoners of war to the Continental Army. And Daniel Morgan knew that Tarleton and Cornwallis would not be happy about this because this was a huge black eye to the British Army. So he knew that they would come after him. So he took the prisoners, and he moved north back into Virginia, where he would surrender the prisoners and he would link up with more allies because he knew that he would be in trouble if he stayed in the South and stayed in the Carolinas to try to fight the British. There's just some good information about the battle and where it happened in South Carolina in general. I do think this is a great place to come visit. If you're not from a small town, then it's everybody knows everybody, but yes, but they also love everybody, and you would enjoy being in a small town. It would be fun for you. The battlefield would be a great place to visit, and just in general, our state has a lot of history, so you would enjoy learning from everything from the Revolution to the Civil War, even to present day. There's tons of history within the state, and there's tons of history even around cowpens and that are not revolutionary. So I think it'd be a great place for people to visit and to learn about our country's history. Thanks.